Welcome to the Rock the Stage Show. Each week, international media expert Rich Bontrager has in-depth and personal conversations with celebrities, top leaders, authors, speakers, and media professionals. Now, from the Rock the Stage studios, here's your host, the Trigger, Rich Bontrager.
Welcome back, Rock the Stage Show. It's Sunday night, 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Glad to have you with us here tonight. And just as a reminder, Rock the Stage is expanding further and further now. You can catch us on Roku TV, Amazon Fire, IPTV, the Brave Arts Network, and of course, on Sunday nights, we premiere new episodes on YouTube. So please join the chat, the conversations if you're on YouTube with us, or hey, drop a comment and a question in any time. We'd love to hear from you. You know, change is coming. Whether you like it or not, ready or not, change is always coming, right? Tonight, we're going to dig into the real cost of resistance, why your team may be burning out, why communication may be falling apart, and how leaders can stop bleeding out on their time, their money, and their talent. Maybe tonight you're going to discover a fresh new framework that's going to help you personally, maybe your organization, shed what's holding you back, embrace the changes like never ever before. Get ready to rethink retention, transformation, culture, and the engagement as well. We're going to go deep tonight with my guest is Catherine Dempsey, keynote speaker, author, and change expert who helps organizations, leaders shed for success by igniting the mindset, momentum, and accountability needed to thrive in a world of constant change. By the way, she's a former ER trauma nurse, hospital executive. She also became the first healthcare worker in the United States to be diagnosed with HIV positive after a traumatic exposure. We're going to touch on that a little bit tonight. Fascinating story. And the afterlife alternate reality that came out, the new reality, it reshaped her mission, her life, and everything she does about courage, clarity, and resilience. Welcome to Rock the Stage Show tonight. My special guest, Kathy Dempsey, and come on in. We're going to have a great time.
Hey, Trigger. Oh, awesome.
Great to have you here tonight. And you have lived the roller coaster of change, haven't you? You have lived it out.
Totally. Totally.
You know, there's an old saying that I live by and have taught, but if you're not changing, you're dying. Some people hate change. Some people embrace it as part of the fluidity of life. Where's your view on that?
Well, my whole brand is shed or you're dead. So, I am full 100% into that one, for sure.
So where did the concept of shed come about, by the way? And actually, before we get in the shed, we do have to have your official partner come on screen for a minute. Because your partner is part of the whole transition. Ladies and gentlemen, we welcome to Rock the Stage tonight, Lenny the Lizard.
Here I am. There's Lenny. Lenny the Lizard. People actually don't even know who I am. They don't remember my name, but they know Lenny. I've had people on planes like in LAX, and they're like, I don't remember your name, Lizard Lady, but how's Lenny? And I've shed my spouse and my house and my job. And anyway, so Lenny is really the star.
So how did this all begin? How did you land on shedding and then Lenny becomes a part of the whole property of what you're creating? How did this start?
Well, it happened. If I can go to this backstory, I went to a Georgia Speakers Association event, and I got up and told them my name, and I was a speaker, and I wanted to speak on grief and loss. And some really seasoned, amazing professional came on and said, "You're never going to make it in this business."
Wow.
Who would ever pay to come here about grief and loss? Really? And of course, I'm totally crushed. This was,
Right.
almost 30 years ago. I'm driving from Atlanta back to Chattanooga in my car, just crying and crying and crying. I'm like, this is what I'm supposed to do. Whoa. And the next week, I was working in a hospital. I was a hospital administrator at the time. Went for ER trauma nurse up through the kind of ranks of administration. I was grooming to become the CEO of the hospital, is what they wanted. And I was in a board meeting, ethics meeting, and a guy walked in, a friend, strange friend, David, and I always joked around with him because he didn't have kids or anything. He had a lizard, snake, and I said, "David, good morning. How is your snake?" And he said, "Well, my snake is fine, Kathy, but my lizard is dead." I'm like, "What?" He said, "Yeah, it didn't shed its skin. I mean, if lizards don't grow, they don't shed, and they die." I'm like,
Wow.
"Wow." And I don't even know why I asked this question, but I'm like, "David, what can we learn as humans from the lizard?"
Yeah.
And he said, we all grow physically, mentally, spiritually, and if we don't shed, if we don't grow, we die. And I said, "Well, what might our old skin represent?" And he said, negative attitudes, toxic relationships, and all those things. If you don't shed, you're dead in your life. So on July 29th, 1998, 27 years ago, it was like I had this download: shed,
Yeah.
you're dead. And it was such a profound message that came. I was just like, what does this mean? What does it mean? But I had no realization that I actually had a universal download to transform grief and loss with a lizard who was going to make it funny, and people were going to love the lizard, but it was all about change. It was all about shedding. But it was, bottom line, all about grief and loss, letting go of what's no longer serving you, either
Mhm.
personally or professionally, corporate wise, business wise, or, and what are those things you need to bring to? What are those new skills, the new knowledge, the things that will move you forward? So,
You
that,
you 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 came up with this before pandemic. You were already on this, and what we went through in pandemic is what
oh,
you're talking about. So ideally, you were
exactly.
primed for that, weren't you?
Yeah, 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 exactly. Talk about that. And it's interesting because I published a book in January 2020. Okay, so you know about what that, and the book was called Shed
Yeah.
Happens.
Mhm.
Shed happens, things happen to you. And I had this whole shed inventory, that 72 things you would circle of things that happened to your life. And little did I know, weeks later, we were going to have the biggest shed
Yeah.
happens moment of most of our lives, literally.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, then you also go on to say, and I've heard you say this: no workforce can thrive unless their people learn to shed. Let me say that again. No workforce can thrive unless they learn to do what you're talking about.
Exactly. Exactly. And that's why 75% of all change efforts fail, whether it's business wise or personal wise, because people don't have that ability to shed. They're afraid. Um, they just hold back. They're paralyzed.
Right.
When I used to work as an ER trauma nurse, so many times in crisis situations, when people were really afraid, our body naturally, we hold our breath, right?
Mhm. Yep.
We just, and it's interesting, as I would tell patients decades ago, just breathe, just breathe, just breathe, which is,
In and
uh,
out. In and out. Keep
in
it
and
going.
out, in and out, no matter how scary it is, no matter what's going on, just breathe. And, I found that the biggest barrier over the years, both when I work with corporations and healthcare systems, and also with people personally, is fear.
Yeah.
Fear is the number one thing that holds people back.
Well, fear and the unknown. Because when
Yeah.
you shed, I know this pain, I know this hurt, I know this stumbling block. You may not like it, but you at least know it. When you shed it, you're now exposed to, I don't know what's going to happen. And some people can't deal
Exactly.
with that.
Exactly. It's just like so many fears come up of maybe it's not going to be good going forward, or maybe some rough waters,
Right.
or you don't know what's going to happen. Yeah, the unknown. Um, I remember it was probably almost 20 years ago, Trigger, that I had a call with Disney, and they called in and they wanted me to do a storytelling workshop for them for the day. And I'm like, you want me to come in and teach Disney how to tell stories? Really,
Right.
really? I've always been an avid learner of storytelling, so that
Hmm.
has been one of the things I've studied and really spent a lot of time on. So I was referred, and people knew I was good at storytelling, and I said, "Why? Why?" And they said, "Well, we're number one. Um, we're number one, and if we want to stay number one, we got to keep learning." Which
Yeah.
I was like, "I got it." They were not gonna settle for being the best storyteller
Mhm.
company in the world. They wanted to continue to teach their people how to tell stories better and better and better. And, when I went in there, they took me on this really cool backstage tour,
Oh,
and what I had no idea of, Trigger, is that Walt Disney was afraid of mice.
really?
Think about that.
I know. And he chooses his icon symbol to be a mouse.
Exactly. Like, what did Walt do? Like, he embraced he embraced his fear, and he said, like, I'll make it my fun friend. I'll have
Right.
big ears and a big smile and nose, and I'll call my fear Mickey." So he embraced his fear and transformed it into his biggest success. I mean, think about that. How many of us, probably 99% of us, have been to some Disney, a
Right.
Glen Park or whatever, and just think, if Disney hadn't embraced his fear, there would be no Disney or Mickey
Right.
or anything like that. So, there's a cost of not embracing your fear.
Interesting because I've studied Walt. I love Disney. I'm a
Yeah?
complete fanatic. I may have heard that someplace, but it was eons before. So that's a really great golden nugget. But then it goes to another thing that a common National Speaker Association Hall of Famer, Scott McCain, talks about being
Uh-huh.
iconic.
Yeah.
He talks
Yeah.
about being iconic, which intersects what you're talking about because you can't become iconic and not shed the garbage. You
Exactly.
have to, like Walt did, shed that and become what you're really meant to be. But sometimes we don't know the junk holding us back, do we?
Right, and it is scary. It is very scary. I mean, I don't say it's easy for anybody,
Right?
whether they're doing that personally or professionally, or running a business, or a manager or leader or whatever. Um, it's just scary. I used to be the administrator of psychiatric units and alcohol and drug units,
Hmm.
and I got up every morning at like 4 a.m. and it was like, "Get out of the business. Get out of the business. Get out of the business." This was the message that went on for 2 weeks. And I finally woke up one day and said, "Okay, we got to get out of the business." And so I walked into the CEO's office and I said, "We our hospital system is focused on cancer care and orthopedic care, and really we're not doing that good a job with psychiatric care. And I think we just need to get out of the business. So I do have your permission to go to the competitor and see if we can sell this business." And in my back of my mind, I'm going, you're shedding your own role. You're shedding hundreds of employees' roles. I mean, like,
Right.
you're walking in saying, "Just let me go." But
Right.
it was the right thing to do. It was horribly scary. Um, but I mustered the courage because I just knew that's what we needed to do. And
So let's
so
talk about scary. Let's go back a little ways
yeah,
because you were the first person on a medical
Yeah.
team,
Yeah.
HIV positive at the time, the 80s,
Oh,
scariest thing in the world,
exactly.
and you find out you test positive. How
Yeah.
scary was that?
Like panic level, if you want to know the truth. Uh, but it was the mid '80s, as
Yeah.
most of your viewers probably were alive. Some may not be alive, born at least at that '80s time, as I talked to some people.
Yeah.
But at that time, people didn't even know how it was how
Mhm.
it was, contagious. Did I touch you? Do I
Yeah.
hug you? Do I stay away? And so I was an ER trauma nurse, and a trauma patient came in, and we rushed him into the trauma room, and he was just not in good shape. So we ended up cracking his chest,
Mhm.
which for lay people, you actually crack the sternum, and you're actually in the heart,
Yeah.
actually pumping the heart with your hands. And we tried everything we could, and he just didn't make it. And
Was this before gloves? Was this before you
oh,
were
yeah, yeah,
mandated?
yeah. I had this little teeny cut on my finger, paper cut on my finger, and you know, it was the '80s. We didn't wear gloves.
Yeah.
I mean, unless you were in surgery, or whatever, we didn't wear gloves, which sounds crazy when you think about TSA and your hairdresser, and everybody wears gloves now.
Yes.
Everybody. Um, but to be exposed to everything that we did back then. So,
Well, then 9 months later, you're
well,
clear.
when we told the family he didn't make it, they were a little reticent, but said, he had AIDS. And I was like, my heart dropped. I mean, like, I was like,
So there was no pre-warning in the admission side of his history. You just cracked in,
no,
jumped in midstream.
no,
Then you find out,
you don't
oh, by
ask
the way.
questions. You just go in and try to do everything you can do to save somebody. You don't ask their history at that point in time. So when it was reported, the CDC recommended testing
Mhm.
for 3 months, and so they tested from every vein and pulled blood, every few days, and sent it to all kinds of different labs, the CDC, Smith Kline. I mean, they were sending it to all kinds of places, and uh, I got a call at work one day, and they said, your tests are positive. And but don't worry, we're going to do confirmatory tests. And they did all these more confirmatory tests, and they all 8 of them came back positive. Um,
So then did you stop working? Were you put in a
well,
different
well,
department? How did that
they
pan out?
they basically said, you can't work here anymore, because
Right.
if the community finds out that we have an HIV nurse, this community will shut down. I mean, the hospital will
Right.
shut down. I mean, they will not feel comfortable bringing
Right.
any of their people to this hospital or families. So, that was like, wow. And it was a difficult journey with my faith-based community, because again, they thought this was punishment
Mhm.
from God, and all that stuff that we believed, or a
Yeah.
lot of people believed in the '80s.
Right.
So, where I thought I would find comfort and solace, people were just kind of like, don't
So
touch her, don't get near her.
so did you shed right then? Did you have your own shedding of going through that process? Or was that not even a thought at that point
No, 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 no. I
that
mean,
you were just in the fray? You couldn't
I
shed it.
was
You couldn't
just
bounce it off.
surviving. I mean, I was not eating well. I wasn't sleeping well. I wasn't I was just in my focus was my demise. How was I going to die? And I think it was after the real big trigger was when I was in graduate school at the time, and I went into a human sexuality class. And they said, the film tonight film strip. Remember film strip? All that kind of crazy stuff. The film strip tonight is Living with AIDS. And so I sat there and I watched all these people, these men, young men, just emaciated and just dying in front of me. And I was like, whoa, this isn't going to happen to me. I'm no way. And I walked out of class that night and I just said, I'm not going to die that way. I'm just not. And I was pretty in a state of sleeplessness and being irrational. And I didn't have support around me that I probably needed from, of course, I'd been taken off my job and my church wasn't real.
So you did everything that you tell your clients not to do today. You literally were the epitome of anti-shed, probably, right?
Exactly.
Ding, 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 ding.
Ding, 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 ding,
Looking
ding.
back, how much would a person have helped you in your own life speaking about shedding, speaking about these things? Was there a voice out there doing that? Was there someone trying to help you navigate this? Or were you in a dinghy by yourself, floating along by yourself, dealing with it?
Well, I wish I would have had more support in the 80s. I ended up in a hotel parking lot, the famous Chattanooga Choo Choo Hotel. Um, and it was dark and rainy, and I just sat there in the car, and I just thought, well, I'm gonna do it now. I'm gonna take these sleeping pills I pulled out of my purse, and I'm like, I can just take care of it now. I don't have to emaciate and just wither to death. And but somebody knocked on my car door, this woman. So that was the intervention,
Mm,
the divine intervention, as I would call it.
yeah,
He said, "Are you okay? Are you okay?" I'm like, "No,
not even close.
I'm scared and I'm lonely." And I was crying, and she got in the car and she held my hand and she just helped me get through the night.
So with shedding, I understand you talk about learn to manage the now, then the
Yes.
next now, the next now. Looking back on what you're telling us right now, how helpful would that have been to you then? To
Ah,
know how to do now, and then
huge,
now, and then now.
huge, huge. I wasn't managing the now. I was managing my demise in the future. So I was projecting on how to manage it when I got sick and was emaciated or whatever was going to happen. I wasn't in the now. And if I had been in the now and managed the now, I was healthy. I was functioning. Yes, I didn't have a job,
Right?
but I wasn't managing the now.
So 9 months later, you get the all clear and you don't have AIDS, HIV. So now you go through a whole set of emotions where you swing back probably going, I'm okay. How do you deal with that now?
I was like, "What?" I mean, there's so many emotions, like, "Yay!" "Wow!" "Upset," "pissed," "angry," all that stuff's going on,
Yes.
in your brain, and then I just fell to the ground and said, "I won't live my life the same way again." I mean, I thought my life was gone at 25, and
Right.
now all of a sudden I had it back.
Yeah.
And I don't think very many people get that kind of gift so early in life. So I was deeply grateful.
Is that where your passion to help other peoples and organizations came out? Your own personal journey lit the fire, say, I gotta go help people.
Yep, yep, yep. And help them navigate the bumpy roads, the diagnosis, the problems, the job loss, the divorces, whatever happens personally or professionally, help navigate through those bumpy times, and to be able to, again, as you stated very well, to be able to be in the now, right now. Okay, don't project of what could happen, what might happen next week, next month, 2 years from now, but just stay in the now. Make a healthy choice in the now. And if you make a healthy choice in the now, and then the next now, and the next now, then you're like a super shedder. I mean, You are, and I know so many people believe, well, it takes 21 days to change a habit or 90 days and all that, and I push back on that because it's just like make a healthy decision right now.
Even if it's a wrong decision, make a decision now, right?
Yeah,
Step
yeah,
forward, do something
yeah,
because you're paralyzed in your own
right,
brain thinking you're going to do it wrong. So I do nothing.
right.
And that's a trap.
It is, and it really is a trap, and it just paralyzes so many people that I've talked to that they just don't do anything, which is a decision to do nothing. But they don't do anything to move forward with making a decision. Hopefully, it's a healthy decision, but a decision. And if you make a decision, you can always say, pivot and go somewhere else. But make a decision.
So you and Lenny step up on stage, you travel, you speak, and I've seen video of you. You get the crowd singing and dancing and moving. You're having a rocking good time because they're shedding with you in the moment.
Exactly.
What's that like now? To captivate the audience, teach them something, but have them actually move now, right there.
I mean, it is, I have these little cards still. I know we have all this technology now, but I still have these little business size cards. And on the back of them, after I tell my age story at the end, I ask them, what do they need to shed? Um,
Ooh.
is it a toxic relationship? Is it their job? Is it a personal relationship? Is it going back to school? Is it an unhealthy habit? And then they write it down, and then I have them put it in their wallet in front of their favorite credit card. And I ask them, Lenny challenges 30 days, just 30 days.
Okay.
Put it in front of your favorite credit card. And every time you pull out that credit card, you'll be reminded of what you have committed to shed. And I have people that have come back who see me like 10 years ago. They still have this little card in their wallet. And they said, yeah, I kept it more than 30 days. And some of them, it's like one guy in Chicago, he was just like, he had to come back. He's like, I asked to get into this convention, but I've lost 100 pounds since I saw you last.
Wow.
I have shed. I'm like, that is awesome. And it was just the inspiration, or I would say what Lenny does well is he gives permission for people to shed.
All right. So, Lenny, you got to come on camera. You got to use your voice now, Lenny. You got to tell us how you do this. Demonstrate how you and Lenny work together on stage. I got to see this. I told you we're going to have fun.
Yeah. I just, I help people shed. Just looking at me helps people shed. And it's just a reminder. I give everybody a little 3-inch Lenny Jr. and they get to take it with them and put it on their refrigerator in their car.
Oh, beautiful.
It's just a reminder every day.
I want a Lenny Jr.
Lenny Jr. It's interesting because how just a little teeny lizard reminder for somebody how profound it could be. This woman called our 1-800 number a few years ago, and she said, I just sold my car. And I've had Lenny Jr. on the dashboard for 8 years and I forgot to get him. Can you please send me a lizard, Lenny Jr.? I'm like, she was frantic. And Beverly Babb, who was running my operations at the time, said, yeah, we'll definitely send you a Lenny Jr. out in the mail tomorrow. But it had been that significant that every time she got in her car, she saw the little lizard and it reminded her, what do I need to shed today?
Those sensory things trigger you back to your speech, to your engagement, to your hallway conversation. They are sensory things that are so powerful, and often we chuck them. It's amazing that she said, no, I got to have it. I've got to have that.
I know.
Did you think the early comments you made that they said you're never going to make it in that lane, but you found a way to recreate the lane. Did you ever think you'd be an author, speaker, world renowned expert as you are now?
I did not. I mean, that day was so crushing to me and my soul. And I think it was such a gift that Lenny showed up the next week, because what he allowed me to do is to go in. Lenny makes people laugh. I make people cry. It's like we're this amazing team, and he's the metaphor, and people really hook on to it. But it really, when you're looking at it, it really is about grief and loss. It's about letting go, which is shedding, which
Right.
is also painful, and it's about grief. I mean, I tell audiences, like, everything you own,
Yeah.
and everybody you love, you will shed one day.
Right. Yes. Well, change is inevitable. Now, one of your books was 31 unconventional strategies for growth and change. So I'm interested in, I love unconventional stuff. So what are one or two unconventional ways to
Oh
deal with this?
my!
Come on.
That book is like 25 years old, and I still get orders. I got an order from Blue Cross Blue Shield last week for a ton of them. But okay, the first chapter is be psychotic.
I love that.
Be psychotic. Second chapter, hallucinate. um it just, like, is in your face. But it's lessons that I learned working in the psychiatric unit, and how can we take those, like, hallucinate. Well, people see things and hear things that aren't there. Well, what is a vision that you have? Terry Paulson said a hallucination is just, you know, uh, basically somebody, the number of people that see it. So, and be psychotic. I mean, listen to the voice inside of you.
Well, some of
Um,
the voices, I mean, I have voices. Some of the most creative stuff comes in the middle of the night, and I grab my phone, I dictate it to it, and in the morning I listen to my ramblings because it was so vivid, so real. I've got to grab it in the moment, and people think I'm kind of crazy, but it's worked for me for years.
Yeah, but I mean, really, how many people really, you said you did, trigger, but there's voices, our inner spirit, whatever you want to call it, speaks to us. But
Yes,
how many of us stay quiet enough to listen, let alone do something about what we hear?
exactly. Because we're moving
Yep.
instead of, again, going back to staying in the now. Linger in that now, so let it stick with you better, which is a long learning curve for a lot of people.
Oh, it is. And it's so hard because we're
Right.
bombarded with information and technology, and like, we don't even take time enough to really just be for
Oh,
60 seconds, let alone for,
well, silence is deafening.
yes.
It's hard to
Yes.
stay in that silence. Now, you're an author, you're a presenter, but you've also got something kind of new, cool going on. We got to touch on a little bit. There's something, a secret, a movie, a something going on.
Yeah, my screenplay is done. Married After His Funeral is the working title right now,
Okay.
and I've been working with the Hollywood producer Stephen Simon, who, you most people probably have seen Somewhere in Time, or All the Right Moves, or When Dreams May Come. Robin Williams, Christopher Reeves. I
Oh,
mean,
wow.
Tom Cruise. I mean, he's directed and produced major movies. So he really helped me with the screenplay.
Well, when it premieres, you have to let me know. We'll
Okay.
share it out there. And we may have to just have you come back to talk about the movie experience and have a movie launch party or do something with you, because
Yeah.
that's extremely cool. I also want to touch on, because you are the founder of the Shredding Revolution. This is not just something you speak about. You're creating a revolution, but you've taken it further. Keep Shedding is an educational foundation which now, by last count that I've got, over 300 AIDS orphans in Africa. You've
Yes.
gone global with your personal AIDS story, the
Yes.
shedding combination,
Yes.
helping kids. Tell me about that because that is
Wow.
cool.
Wow. Well, I went to Africa in 2005 and volunteered there for a month. And on the way there, I had all my bags stolen, literally in Amsterdam.
Wow.
Um, Everything stolen. So somehow I got to Africa with no money, no anything. And I thought I was going there kind of a moderately successful businesswoman. I was going to volunteer, but it was a whole nother experience arriving there with no money, no clothes, and now I was being taken care of by people who had nothing. Um, wow,
Talk
wow,
about living in the now, right?
you
The
talk
now, the now,
about
the now. What another now
and
moment for you.
now, and it was a totally life-changing experience to see. There was like 13,000 people in this small little city, um, 13,000 orphans, AIDS orphans, and you saw 13-year-old kids who were taking care of their 5 younger brother and sisters, and all their job was is to find water and food. I mean, you're 13 years old, and now you're the parent of your 5 siblings. Um, and it was just when I came back to the US, it's just like it was such a total disconnect from our lives here, and how blessed we are, how blessed I am. I've never gone without a meal. Um, I've never had to sleep out on the dirt road. I've never had to take care of 5 younger siblings at 13 years old. I mean, so anyway, a lot of my book sales for many, many years all went to the Keep Shedding Foundation, and 300 kids. Most of them have all graduated now. I just got a call a couple weeks ago from Sister Prosperina, and she says, I talked to the kids. Some of them have graduated. They're nurses, they're
Wow.
accountants, they've launched. They've launched.
Right. Well, I'm going to bring up your website right now because we want people to go learn more about you. Scan the QR code. There it is. Kathy Dempsey. What are they going to find there besides, I'm sure, your books and other stuff?
Lots of resources for people, if they want them. There's some great articles. Probably my number one article is How to Lead Change When You Don't Agree with It Yourself.
Oh,
Ooh, which everybody raises their hand. Okay, yeah, I've been there, and I'm like, and the 2 people that haven't raised their hands, you're gonna say that too, coming soon, because most of the changes that happen in our lives, some of them we don't agree with, and we
mm,
don't have much control over, which is
right.
part of the control management part. And we have a tendency to waste energy on things we can't control, and so we have like 25 things you can control right now, resource, like really now, right now.
Go check out that website. Make sure you scan the QR code and learn more about it. There's a thought going through my mind that for some people, maybe one of the resistance points of shedding is they feel like it's a form of giving up. Do you ever get that? That they feel like you're asking me to shed, so I'm giving up. But that's not what I'm hearing here, right?
No, it is not. It's almost like giving. ah, I'm going to reframe this. Giving up, uh, giving up. Yeah, you're letting it go so you can move forward and not be stuck. And there's 5. And it should be on the resource on the website. There's 5 filter questions. Um, to determine if it's time for you to shed.
Oh,
Is it causing pain, in your life,
yep,
personally, professionally? If that pain scale is going up 8, 9, 10, um, and so there's filter questions that you can ask yourself to determine if it's time to shed, and it'll give you a better indication of that. What fears are involved? Because
Yep.
most people, that's a big thing that holds them back. Is I'm afraid of what's going to happen. I'm afraid of the repercussions. I'm afraid of, the unknown.
Right.
Um, big one, big one, big one. But to look at the benefits of shedding and also look at the consequences. You and I talked a few minutes ago about Disney. Just think about if Disney hadn't embraced his fear. Think about the consequences to millions of people who
Yes.
would have to strip away their family vacations and their conference and their childhood memories, all that
Yes.
because Walt Disney didn't embrace his fear. So one person's not embracing fear has consequences for so many other people.
And that's part of the learning curve of I need to shed to move forward to get to the next level. And it's worth that awkward pain step.
Yep. Yep.
Kathy Dempsey, thank you very much for being on Rock the Stage. It's been marvelous. And again, keep us in touch with what's going on in the movie. We want to keep
All
supporting
right.
you.
All right. Lenny said goodbye.
Hi, Lenny. Great to have you on. We're going to have you back, Lenny. Thank you, Kathy. Kathy Dempsey on Rock the Stage Show. Wow. Again, what a concept and what a way to reframe it after everything she personally went through. But this is all about shedding for success. I want to make sure you understand that. This is success comes sometimes through reframing, letting go, moving forward. And that's really what she's all about. Yeah, she's an author, she's a speaker, and now she's going to have a movie coming out. But she's all about helping you have success and finding the freedom to move on. Check out her website, learn more about Kathy Dempsey. And of course, you always want to come back here and rock the stage because you never know who's going to come up and have a highly unscripted, great conversation. We're streaming now on Roku TV, Amazon Fire, IPTV, the Bravehearts TV network, and of course on YouTube as well. Follow us, like it, share it out, and come on back next week, 7 p.m. Eastern Time, for another exciting show of Rock the Stage. Until then, have a great week. I'm the Trigger, Rich Bontrager, and keep rocking.